What is up, guitar friends? Welcome back to a new episode of James Brady Guitar. I am James Brady, and today we're both going to learn how to restring a Floyd Rose. Let's do it. Okay, so Floyd Rose trem system is this type of bridge you see here, which is different than, say, a solid bridge like you can see on one of the Les Pauls, which is just a bar, or even on other bridges like a Telecaster is a solid bridge that has saddles, you go through the body. So what happens with this bridge is that it's called floating. So this bridge, without any tension on anything, will just move up and down freely. So how you get it to sit like this is you add tension from your strings that hold it this way, right? So it's pushing up. And then when you look at the back, if you can see in there, there's some springs, right? Those springs are pulling the bridge back down. So when they're in perfect harmony, you get this nice flat bridge. I'll show you this way, right? So that's right flush on the body. That's what you want. You want your bridge to be lined up perfectly with the wood, and then that stays in tune. When that happens, you lock the strings here. You don't use the tuners anymore. You lock them in. Essentially at that point, whenever you dive bomb or anything, this should stay in tune, and if you need to fine tune, you could use these little screws down here. That's the idea behind the whole system, and if done properly, it does work very well. Now you're asking, why go through all that trouble just to do this Floyd Rose system when you can get a regular bridge? Well, you could do something like this, and you could do stuff like this. All right, so I just got this guitar not too long ago, so I'm a beginner at this myself. So I figured it'd be cool to actually show you a video where someone who doesn't know too much about this is going through the pains and mistakes of putting strings on a Floyd Rose, restringing their guitar. Maybe you can learn from my mistakes and not have to do the same thing. I always think it's good to put your hands on something though and make the mistakes because it just makes you better at anything really. But yeah, so let's dive into this. We're gonna take all the strings off for this so we can see how the bridge moves, and also I want to clean the neck. But yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we got our guitar set up. Got everything in our little workshop area. This is my dining room. That's my workshop. All right, so I know we said we're going to take all the strings off, which is a little crazier than, say, just an easier way is to do one string at a time. Will probably maintain your bridge better. So if you had your guitar set up and your strings are already good, you know, you might want to do that method, just one string at a time. You know, the only thing that would be worrisome is if you're doing, you know, a string gauge change or something like that. You're going to have to, you know, take apart the back, which I'm showing you right now. Just taking off the back plate and adjust your springs for something like if you made a lighter or heavier gauge string. So let's speed this up. Take these screws out, put them in a spot that you will remember. That's safe. You're going to need them later on. I guess you can leave the back plate off in general if you wanted to, just for easy access to this cavity. But I don't know. I kind of like having it on. Makes me feel weird that it's just open. I don't know. Personal preference there. Yeah, so we got the cavity open. You can see the springs inside. Right now what I'm showing you is a roll of quarters that I electrical taped together. Now I did this the first time. I put it against the floating bridge piece, that big bar you see there where the springs are attached to. So what that does is as you're pulling on your strings, it'll maintain your tension, and I'm just sort of measuring it there right now so you can see it's a perfect fit. So now I know the bridge is already good, and I want that to sort of be my guideline later on as to where I want my bridge to be. So then we got our Allen key, and first thing we need to do is unlock the nut. So Floyd Rose has locking nut, so we got to unlock those. Another speed up here. Okay, now we can detune our strings. You can clip them if you want to. I just feel like there's a lot of tension there. You could also unloosen the bridge and let the string out that way. I don't know. I just feel like this is I guess safer way to do it without the strings exploding out of the bridge or cutting them. But I don't know. I just kind of like to detune them like that. Yep, so that's one of our 6 strings. Then we're going to take our Allen key again and put it into the bridge, the back of the bridge saddle, and you can loosen that there's a little plastic piece in there that holds the string into the bridge. And since the plastic piece is loose, I like to push my finger on it as you take the string out. Otherwise, sometimes the string will pull the plastic piece with it, and then you gotta fidget that thing back in. It's not the end of the world, but it's also not that easy. So just to avoid that kind of trouble, you can do that method. And yeah, so we're on our way here. We're gonna change all of the strings at one time. So let's speed this up again. And we're gonna take all 5 strings off our neck. And from here, this is where you would do any of your cleaning or adjustments if you needed to fix your pickups. That is Guitar Honey I'm using, which is pretty awesome. It's great to just sort of saturate your neck a little bit, you know, get the wood nice and just get any dirt off. You know, if you're playing a lot, bending into the guitar, you know, your hands are oily, sometimes you can get some dirt on them, things like that. So I do like to clean the neck every couple of months or so. Just clean up the frets too, get in there, you know, on the headstock, get in those tuning pegs and things like that. It just overall like good for guitar maintenance, just to kind of get in those crevices every now and then, get good at it. Now this is, you know, me being excessive, but I like my little toothbrush that I have, cleans everything off really nice. This is just to tighten up some of the bolts on the tuning pegs. They were a little loose, so I went in there with that. Again, this is the time you want to make your adjustments. If you had to, that neck is really straight, but if you had to, you know, you could adjust your truss rod here, you could adjust your pickup height, anything like that. This is kind of like where you would start to check those things out. All right, now also, Floyd Rose, you see those screws right there. That's for fine tuning. Now, as you play, it'll, you know, the strings will move. So what I'm showing you there is to just remember to loosen them up back to their original position or midway, however you kind of want them. But remember to loosen those up. Now I have a pack of Ernie Ball Slinkies, the 10s. This guitar is scale 25.5. I find that type of guitar is good with a pack of 10s. You know, there's absolute preference. You can do what you want. But for me, that's the gauge I want on this type of guitar. Especially if you're playing in standard. You just have a good string tension, good feel on the hands. It kind of fights you, but not too much. If you went to 11s, I personally feel like it's a little too heavy, but that's just me. All right, so here what I'm doing is a method that I actually learned watching YouTube, where you don't just string it, you know, from high E to low E or vice versa. You do certain strings at a time. Right here, I'm showing you where to clip the string. You need to clip the ball off to put them into the Floyd Rose. So you see right there, there's the end. So now you just have a string with no ball, and you put one end into the actual Floyd Rose bridge. So that's how you put the string in. But yeah, like I was saying, right now I'm doing the G string first, and then it's going to be the D, then the B string, then the A, then the high E, then low E, and so it's just sort of back and forth in that way. You're working from middle out, actually. So right there, I put the string in. You got to make sure the plastic piece inside is lined up with your string, and then you can tighten it with the Allen key and push it right up against there, and you're good to go. String it up to the tuning peg and tighten your string. Now this is going to be kind of weird with the floating bridge. So like I said, there's really nothing giving that string too much tension. What's going to happen is you're going to string it up to a point where you have some tension pulling on the bridge, and you'll feel the springs actually in the back start to pull the bridge back down. And you just kind of want to get your string a little bit off the board and do it that way. So right here, yeah, I'm showing you the 26, and then we're on our D string. And same process. You clip the ball, put it into the fret, into the bridge, tighten the bridge up, tune it up, and you just keep doing that, finding that tension. You don't want to go crazy trying to find the right tuning yet for your string. It's just not going to happen with a floating bridge, one string at a time. You're really trying to build the tension up in the back of the spring so that it sits kind of flat. So right there, our bridge is a little low. So these are our springs, and those two huge screws are what we're going to have to adjust to get our tension back where it's supposed to be. See here, I'm using my quarters as a guideline. So how I got those quarters too was the first time I did this. My bridge was out of control. It came all the way out. So what I had to do was loosen it, put the quarters in, and then once I got my strings at tension, the quarters held the bridge so it wouldn't go up anymore, and it held it flat. So that's the way to do it. There's also tools online. You could buy like official guitar things for Floyd Rose instead of just using quarters, but it was kind of like a DIY way. So here you can see I'm loosening the bridge, just doing quarter turns each side. Make sure your sides are even. And you can see as you loosen it, the strings will start pulling the bridge up. It's kind of a dance here where you let the bridge loosen, and then you pull your strings again to sort of close to pitch, and you sort of get close to what you want. It's like a ballet with this thing. So you have to loosen or tighten depending on what you need to do, and then get your strings close and just do it again and again. You see here, I kind of have the bridge almost flat, and our quarter is holding the bridge in, so we kind of have everything in place. So what I'll do now that the quarters are holding the bridge at that position is I'll go ahead and tune to pitch, and this way everything should stay. Right there I have my tuning harmonica thing, which I just use because I don't know, I'm old school. And now I'm tuning everything by hitting our frets, and everything's locked up. Well, it's not locked up, everything's in tune, so what we have to do is lock up those strings now. So what happens is we put these locking pegs back in on the nut, and the cool thing is now your guitar, in theory, should just stay in tune. You're not using your tuning pegs anymore, you're just using the fine tuners on the bridge. So yeah, every time you dive bomb, should be good. So that is pretty much it. This took a lot longer than what it seems in this video. Yeah, there, see, our bridge is so nice and straight that the quarters just basically fall out. Sorry if you hear a beeping sound. There's like a truck backing up in front of my house. But yeah, the bridge is nice and flat. Our strings are in tune. Everything's locked up. Everything should be pretty good. Yeah, there were a little bumps along the way just for me that I kind of went over a little bit. You know, the strings do take a long time to get in tune. I didn't think you guys needed to see me do that for 15 minutes. So, you know, like I said, there's a dance between the springs and the strings. And I'm sure this isn't exactly the best way to do it, but I'm learning, and this kind of worked for me for now until I find a better way. It's probably how I'm going to do it. Now we just put our cavity back on, our cavity cover back on, and we're pretty much good to go. Just polish it up a bit, get her looking nice, dry that up, and we are set. All right, there is our Floyd Rose setup. Not that bad.
I love it when a plan comes together.
So our guitar is in tune, it sounds good, it's back the way it was playing, dive bomb's great, stays in tune. That's all you could ask for. Took a little while to get there were some bumps in the road, but I hope while you watched it, maybe you learned something from me, you saw one of my mistakes, you can correct me in the comments. I am totally open to hearing better ways to do this because it is a pain. But yeah, I hope you guys learned something today. If it helped you out, awesome. It was good for me to even go through the process. So yeah, I really hope this helped. Hey guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Check out all my other guitar related video. I'll be here every week for awesome guitar stuff. You can check out my music. It's under my name, James Brady. I put out a solo album. It's a bunch of guitar driven tracks. It's on every major platform, Spotify, iTunes, etc. I'm also in an awesome band called The Rooftop Rebellion based here in New York City. We're playing a show on May 9th at Gold Sounds in Brooklyn. If you're around, please come check it out. We have a new album out called Confront. Please check that out. Also on all the major platforms. Guys, thanks for joining in with me. I'll see you next week. Rock on.